Hello, everybody. I'm Joe McGovern, awards reporter here at TheWrap, and we are happy to have you for our 2021-2022 awards screening of 107 Mothers with director Peter Kerekes and actor Maryna Klimova. 107 Mothers is the Oscar entry from Slovakia. We're going to show you the trailer for the film first, and then we'll get right into a conversation with our panelists. And to our audience, please take part in the live chat of the stream. Share your thoughts about the film and let us know where you're tuning in from. Now, here is the trailer for 107 Mothers.
Статья.
115-я первая.
Срок.
7 лет.
Кого убили?
Мужа.
Почему?
Ревность.
Все твои подруги уже давно замужем. Уже по двое, по трое детей. Скоро весь класс будет матерью героини, а ты одна у меня какая-то непристроенная. Ну что же подумать и о матери? Я внуков хочу. Я хочу, в конце концов, чтобы ты была счастлива.
А ну, гляньте-ка. Ух ты. Красиво.
О, тихо, тихо.
Бери. Оформим.
Ставим вот тут печать.
Welcome back. It is my pleasure to introduce director Peter Kerekes, lead actor Maryna Klimova, and we're joined also by translator Anna Ivanchenko. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here, and congratulations on this film, which premiered at Venice a month or two ago, and in the Horizons section where it won the award for Best Screenplay, which Peter, you co-wrote. This is a good way to start, actually, because I'm very curious about your inspiration for the film. I think if people are familiar with your work or look at your credits, you'll see that your career so far has been mostly in documentaries. And after seeing 107 Mothers, that they'll sort of understand something about, I think, your perspective as a filmmaker. So what was it, maybe a couple years ago? What was the initial spark that led to this project?
Thank you. It started really a long time ago. In the beginning, we started to do a research about the film on censorship, and we were interested in non-political censorship, on censors that are censoring, for example, letters in the prison. And for this, and I wanted to meet the real person who are reading this letter and who are deciding, what can go outside and what can stay, and what has to be deleted and what can be read. And we did a huge research in Ukraine. We, I think, visited something around 12 prisons, and we were scouting for interesting protagonists and for a documentary film. And then we found in Odessa, in prison number 74, Irina Kiryazeva, and she's an operational officer. And it's a woman who is in charge also of censoring the letters, but also like to keep order among the prisoners, among the convicts in a female prison. And we started to research her life, and she's working in a female prison where are mothers with small children. And for us, it was so interesting. And we decided to focus on this. And we realized that it's not possible to make as a documentary film because it's much more about emotions and not about facts. So to have a possibility to transmit the emotions, we had to change the genre, and we decided to make it like a fiction. But with real prisoners, mostly in a real prison, and based on real stories.
Yeah. Now, I know as a documentarian, the word is it's sort of like you cast, you find subjects to be in a documentary through a process of interviewing people and meeting people. Is it similar to the experience that you had here? And we can start to talk about your wonderful lead actor here. The process of finding someone who's going to give presence and give voice to this fictional character, but someone who's based on a lot of reality.
I think in this situation, it was a little bit opposite. I was not finding the characters, but the characters found me. I think it was there, and they just found me to make the film about them. And as originally we planned the film to be acted just by prisoners, but we realized that they are fantastic actors, but they can play only themselves. They cannot act only like themselves, and they were not able to change their life role to a different role. So we did a huge casting, and we found Maryna Klimova. She was working there in Ukrainian theater in Odessa at that time. And we did some tests, and it was just perfect. So we decided to have her as the lead role, and the other supporting roles, they are real prisoners from prison number 74 in Odessa.
Yes, but very skillfully blended, so that to someone watching, it would never really be, except for there's definitely an authenticity for the whole film. Well, Maryna, I wonder if you can begin by telling us where were you in your career when Peter first reached out to you and had a conversation?
Ну, я працювала в театрі вже десь 6 років. І це моя перша роль в кіно, тому що це значить, що я була тільки в початку кінокар'єри.
Well, by that time I worked
почекайте. Ні, все правильно, так.
By the time I worked in the theater for 6 years, but when I got that proposal, that later turned out to be my first role in the film. So that says it that I was in the beginning of my film career.
What were their initial conversations with Peter like? Because, you know, this is a character, Lisa, who doesn't say that much. We have to look really closely at her in order to understand what's going on in her head. Were there conversations with Peter about the restraint that would come?
Ну, це ж історія на реальних подіях. І Люба, яка грає мою подругу, це історія списана з нею. І я дуже багато розпитувала саме у неї, що вона відчувала і як все це, як це все відчувалося для неї. Ось, а Петер мене дуже просив, знаючи все це, він просив мене менше розмовляти, а тільки ось з помічю цього мовчання якось передавати емоцію і не плакати. Ось ще він мене просив.
Well, as this is a story based on real events, the girl Luba that you see in the film, who plays my friend, that's actually her story. So first of all, to research my character, I asked her a lot how she felt, how it was for her. And when I talked to Peter, he really asked me not to talk much, but instead show all this with silence. And he also asked me not to cry.
I think, as for a director, it was a very non-typical role for me, because we had the real person who really spent 7 years in the prison because she killed the girlfriend of her husband of jealousy. And she was released when we started the film, so she was free, and she just had a small baby. And basically, I wanted Maryna, our actress, to speak as much together and to spend as much time as possible together with Luba. So basically, I was just babysitting Luba's baby and just making possible to have a lot of free time for Luba to speak with Maryna. So there is the director babysitting on the seaside, the director babysitting in the prison, the director babysitting in the city of Odessa. And basically, like, my director role was just to babysit the small 5-month-old boy to make these girls possible to speak together.
I once interviewed the actress Frances McDormand, and she said that one of her problems is that there's just too much crying in movies, that characters just go so easily to that catharsis that comes with letting the tears out. And so I'm interested to talk to you, Peter, about your reasons for not having the character of Lisa cry in this film, and what your thoughts were behind that.
Well, of course, I had in mind two big famous Russian quotes. One is from Chekhov. It's much more easy to make the audience to cry than to smile or to laugh. And of course, the Moscow doesn't believe to the tears, title of a famous movie. And it was somehow coming from the reality of the prison. The women there, of course, they're crying, but they are not fake crying. And if something is really tragic, for example, when your child is taken in the age of 3 years somewhere to the orphanage, and you know that you have no chance to see him or her 4 or 5 years, then you even don't have enough power to cry.
Yeah.
So the most sad things are usually very silent. Usually you cry when it's over. And also, I didn't want to somehow blackmail the audience with the crying. I think this crying should come in the moment when you go outside from the cinema after our movie, when the things just click together and you realize what is it about.
Yeah, and there might be various reasons for why you would get emotional. I don't want to talk about the ending, but the ending, I thought about it a lot. An hour after, 2 hours after, the last shot, which is a killer. I mean, it's an amazing shot. But I wanted to talk about something else that I love, which are these interviews that we see between the warden and the prisoners in the film. There's about maybe six or seven different women who we see, and they give their reasons for why they committed their crimes, and they kind of explain what brought them there. It's just the way you settle on their faces and just let us watch them talk. How much of that was taken right from your research, and how much did you sort of craft yourself as a writer?
Well, to be honest, these are casting interviews. When we entered the prison, I wanted to make interviews with all the women that gave birth in a prison, and with all the women that were sentenced because of the murder of jealousy, because they killed their husbands, partners, or somebody. The English expression is the crime of passion, I think.
Yeah, right. Or they might kill the mistress of the husband.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we spent 5 days just capturing these interviews. They are really very long takes, like 2-3 hours. And for me, it was important to cast the protagonists or the actors for the film later, also to get closer to the stories. Also, it was very important for our actress Maryna, because she was sitting just in the next room with the monitor and with the headphones, and she was listening these stories and watching how these women are behave. And based on these stories, we tailored a little bit the script. So we saw, okay, this is an interesting motive that I would like to have in the movie later. So based on these stories, we adjusted the script a little bit, and also picked up the actresses from the prison. So it's like real their life. It's this documentary part of the movie.
Wow. And you just mentioned jealousy, and that is the jealousy is what Lisa says. I think it's kind of all she says, really. So I wanted to ask Anna, or ask Maryna, to talk about just only having really that one key to really open up your character. How much you mentioned talking to another actress who was another person in the film who had a similar story, but how much of a backstory, how much of a life in your head did you create for Lisa?
Ну, взагалі-то ось ці дні, коли я слухала історії жінок, це були найважчі дні з усього знімального процесу. І саме в якийсь із цих днів я подумала, а може не треба, тому що емоційно було дуже важко. Ну, типу, були такі історії, про котрі я би ніколи не подумала, і з котрим ніколи не зустрічалася. От, це перша частина, чи повністю говорити?
Well, actually, the days when I was listening to the stories of those women were probably the hardest during the filming process. And that was when a thought crossed my head that maybe I should just pull out of it, because it was too hard emotionally. There were stories that I would never even have imagined that could exist. And there goes the second part of the answer now.
І не можу сказати, що я користувалася цими історіями як для актриси. Не можу сказати, що воно щось дало в моїй грі, але як для людини, яка раніше зовсім по-інакшому сприймала, наприклад, людей, які ув'язнені, це на мене дуже вплинуло. І взагалі, як на людину, цей проект на мене вплинув більше, ніж як на актрису.
I cannot say that it really gave me much in the way of acting, but the stories that I heard, they really influenced me as a human being. And I can say that this whole project impacted me much more as a human than as an actress.
Mm. And Peter, sort of similar question to you about what was the hardest part. I mean, she just said that listening to those interviews, as I can imagine, was extremely difficult and even made her almost reconsider. What was your experience of that, of taking all that in and hearing those stories?
To be honest, from my documentary experience, I was pretty prepared what's going to be in a prison. And I heard a lot of sad stories in my other movies. So, but there was one moment when I was really harmless, when you just cannot act cool. And it's the moment when the children have 3 years and somebody from the officials are coming and taking them away, because the children are allowed to be in the prison only up to the age of the 3 years.
Yeah.
And when the women have no chance to pass the child to the family, so they are going to the orphanage. It means that they have no chance to see them another 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
And when we saw during the research the situation in reality, this was for me really, I think, one of the toughest moments in my life. It was something really what is very hard to face, because this is such a strong bonding between the mother and the child, and it's just going to be artificially be braked. And yeah, it was not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to ask about some of the realism, the techniques, and I'm sure you've been asked this before, but there, in the beginning of the movie, there is a real childbirth, and there's also breastfeeding, and there's other sort of ways in which the maternal is made very real, not the way that movies usually do it. What were your thoughts on going that way in terms of developing the movie and saying, like, let's actually put on screen the real thing?
Well, it started with the breastfeeding scene. We are thinking about to have it or not, but for a mother with a small baby, the breastfeeding is basically at least 50% of her life. Like, you think about the baby, you breastfeed the baby, then you're thinking if the baby is okay. So this is something which is most of the mother's life when the baby is so small. So to exclude this from the movie would be very weird. So of course we decided to have it in the film, and I think they are like one of the most powerful scenes when the crying babies are just starting to be happy and silent when they are drinking the milk. And the birth in the beginning of the movie, it's so easy to write down in the script that the woman is giving birth, but how to film it? And we decided to film it like hyper realistic, to film a real birth. Of course, we were not filming it in a prison. We were filming it outside in a hospital, safe circumstances. But it's a real birth. And the inspiration was again from classic cinema, because we were in a city of Odessa, and Dziga Vertov, in his film "Man with a Movie Camera," has a real birth actually filmed in the city of Odessa. So we decided, okay, let's do a reenactment. Let's do the same second time. Let's quote the classics. But to be serious, for me, it was important to open the film with a real birth, because everything what we are showing to the audience is real. It's not done in the studios. It's real stories of real people. So from the first moment, when you see the real birth, when you see literally the baby coming to the world, you just have a feeling that, okay, like, this director is not faking anything. The pain is painful and the joy is joyful.
Yeah. And it's a wonderful reference. Man with the Movie Camera, is a film from 1927, maybe 28. It's available because it's in the public domain. You can watch it now, and everything that we see in cinema today is all there in that movie. He's showing the way basically to do all this stuff nearly 100 years ago. So I'm very happy to hear that as a reference. Wanted to ask, while we're talking about technique, to ask about your cinematographer, Martin Kohler, and he's a collaborator of yours in your documentaries. What was the different approach? Did you want to just keep it the same basically as it was when you were doing a nonfiction film, or was there an added layer of craft?
I think it was nearly the same. Martin Kohler is first an excellent photographer, and he doesn't like to make films. So I have always to create something so interesting in front of the camera that he will forget that he's filming. So he will be interested in the reality that is in front of the camera. So I have to really create strong situations, strong stories, and strong mise-en-scène. and then he really enjoys it. For us, it was very hard because the place there is dirty and rough, but the prisoners, the women living there, they try to make it somehow beautiful. They try to make themselves more beautiful. There are small tricks what they can do with their uniforms, how to be more woman-like, more nice, like not to have it like a uniform, to make the life somehow nicer. And we try to find the exact border, like how to make this prison world a little bit more imaginative, as the woman would like to see it, not as a visitor is watching it, but as the convicts would like to see it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask Maryna about being a theater actress and then coming to make this movie and the relationship with the lens. How was there a learning period when you had to figure out how to act in front of the camera?
Ну, не можу сказати, що був якийсь період, коли треба було звикати, тому що зйомка була більш як документальна, мені здається, і просто режисер просив мене, ну, він давав мені час. Не було такого, що ми от маємо зараз зняти сцену дуже швидко, і ти маєш зробити те, не дивись в камеру, не роби цього, не роби цього не було. Він давав мені час для того, щоб прийти в якийсь стан, який йому був потрібен. Ось, і не можу сказати, що були якісь ось такі прям проблеми саме з камерою.
I cannot say that there was a learning period. The thing is that it is more like a documentary, and the director gave me time. He never told me that now we're supposed to make this scene and do it really quickly, so please, you have to enact this and you have to behave like that and don't look into the camera. He gave me time so that I could come into the necessary state, the state he needed, and so that I could act what I was supposed to. So I cannot say that there were any issues with the camera, really.
But does this experience give you a hunger to act more in films?
Так, а вже ж. Дуже хочу зніматися в кіно, але мені цікаві саме такі експериментальні проекти. Ось, тому хотілося б потрапляти в проекти.
That is true. I would really like to act more in films, but I'm predominantly interested in experimental projects such as this one. I would like to do more of that.
I hope so. Peter, what about the other women we see on screen? Because you know, I want to see them more in other movies too. Like they're so expressive and so fascinating to watch. What was, I guess, as a director, what was your relationship with the rest of the cast? Maybe it was good that you were a documentarian coming from that world, but were you directing them like actors?
With Irina Kiryazeva, the the operational officer in the prison, the censor, she's basically, her professional is to be an actress in the prison, because she has to have different faces to different prisoners. And this was really amazing during our research when we found her, that she could speak with somebody and to be very strict and official. And just in a second, she was a completely different person speaking with somebody else. We have a very interesting professional friend relationship with her. And it would be nice if she can continue in some of my next movies. But it means that my next movie should be about the prison, because she can act perfectly herself. The second interesting supporting role is Luba, the real prisoner. On her story the film is based on her story. And she was really very interesting because she could get in minutes so deep in herself and to the past, and she could change in front of the camera in minutes. And it would be interesting to have her in some next movie if everything will go well. But let's see.
And what about there's a performance by the mother of Ileana. Is that an actress or is that her real mother?
It's an actress.
Yeah.
It's an actress from Odessa Jewish Theater. And it was my most interesting directing experience because we just wanted to have a small silent role with her. And I said, you are the mother, your daughter is 40 years old and single. And she just interrupted me and said, don't explain me anything. I know what I have to speak. And she improvised a wonderful scene. And it was basically a perfect take from the beginning to the end with exact timing.
She probably has more dialogue than a lot of other people in the film, even though she doesn't have a lot of screen time.
Yes.
She's very she wants her daughter to have gotten married and had grandchildren for her. That becomes a sort of a theme in the movie. Well, I wanted to ask both of you about the being the official selection from Slovakia, because this is an honor, a deserved choice, I think. But it's also a movie that, here you have your country picking a movie about women, about incarcerated women, as the one that's going to represent the nation, hopefully, as the choice for the Oscars. Maybe, Peter, you can start just to tell about your reaction to being the choice and just the, what it means for you and for the country.
To be honest, I was super happy to text it to the woman in prison. I shouldn't have said that because it's illegal to have mobile phones there. Of course they have. And this was my biggest joy, to let them know we are in Oscars. And was not so much thinking about my country. I was more thinking about the Odessa prison, to be honest.
Yeah.
And this was for me the biggest joy when I when I got the information.
Ну, це дуже круто. Знаєте, кіно про жінок, про долю жінок, про яких ми ніколи не думаємо і взагалі не знаємо, що там коїться. Ось. А тепер є можливість побачити, що є така частка в цьому світі, і що там теж є жінки, що в них є діти, і що вони переживають такі ж самі емоції. І це дуже круто, що люди можуть подивитися ось на цих жінок також.
Well, I believe that it is really cool, mostly because this is a film about women who we never see, who we never think about, because these are women in prison. And the possibility to see this little share of society that is there, how it all works out, that they are real women, that they can have their emotions. I believe it is great that it is shown in the film.
Well, and I wanted to keep on that theme as we sort of wrap up, and by asking Peter two questions really about the film's impact. First, I'm curious its impact on you and your career. I mean, in every nation, there are documentary filmmakers who have switched over to narrative or go back and forth. Those are my favorite type of movies anyway. What do you think that this project has given you, maybe ideas or confidence going forward in your career, and maybe taking more films like this on?
Okay. First of all, I have to tell that this project took my confidence out. When I was making documentary films, I had pretty clear idea how the film should look like and how the world is. And during the making of this film, I saw that the reality has so many layers that actually the fiction taught me about the complexity of the world. So I'm an absolutely different person after finishing this movie than I was before. And with the next steps, I'm very interested in combining real stories, real people in fiction. And I think my next films are going to be maybe kind of a similar genre like 107 Mothers. But also I'm looking forward to go to my documentary film language.
Your
that
roots.
I love. Yes.
Do you have any? Is there anything you're working on right now?
Yes, I'm preparing a film based on the novel of a Polish author called Witold Szablowski, and the novel is called The Dancing Bears, and it's set in Bulgaria, and I hope we will able to start the filming next year.
So that would be a narrative film, not a documentary.
It will be a narrative film based on real people, real stories, and what is most important, based on real bears.
Well, good. So then to really finish up and ask both of you about the impact, not on you, but on the world of this film. I mean, here's a portrait of women that we don't see very often. And I know for me, it was a big surprise to look in there and feel a lot of compassion, you know, for the experience that they're all going through, especially when you involve the children. So Maryna, maybe you can begin by just talking about what you hope is the impact of 107 Mothers to everybody who sees it.
Чесно кажучи, я не думаю, що щось може змінитися після перегляду фільму. Ну, якось прям дуже. Просто це можливість, ще раз повторюсь, заглянути, що трапляється там за ґратами життя у жінок. Але, на жаль, мені здається, що нічого не зміниться. Дуже хотілося б, щоб наша судова система якось змінилася, але, на жаль, мені здається, що фільмами ми цього не зможемо.
Well, honestly speaking, I don't think that something will change much after watching this film. I'll repeat myself here and say that this is a chance to peek how it really is behind bars. Of course, I would have really wanted for our judicial system to change to prevent everything happening, but I don't think that we can make the change by making films.
And Peter, maybe you can expand on that, and because it is true what Maryna is saying, but you still, I hope, you hope that people who see this will be moved in some way, and that change is possible.
Yes, because I think we are speaking about very basic and ordinary situations. That's it. But we are just putting them into extraordinary environment. But the bonding between the mother and the child is important, and it doesn't matter if you are living in a village or if you are in a prison. And basically, we are using this environment of the prison just to tell things about some basic connections, about the love between the mother and the child, about jealousy, what was a very strong and important topic for me, and about motherhood at all. And we are speaking about in different layers. I hope it's not black and white, you know, it's just asking more questions. So basically, I think the impact of this film is that the audience, after watching it, will ask themselves about their attitude to the motherhood and about their choices they are making in their lives.
Right. I mean, that's what we hope, right? That even if it's not about a specific issue, then you just art is a way to evolve, you know, as people.
Hope.
Well, I want to thank you, Maryna and Peter, and thank you, Anna, for all your help. Congratulations on the film, and I'm really hoping all the best for you. And I want to thank our audience for joining us today, and be sure to take advantage of our free trial to TheWrap Pro and be the first to know about wrap screenings and events. And you can also catch up on any past screenings or any you have missed, and register for future ones by visiting TheWrap.com screenings tab. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.